Hello guys, welcome to Intel Electronics. So in today's episode, let's take a look at a BSNL broadband UPS, uninterruptible power supply. Now, as the name suggests, this thing is a standard accessory for your BSNL fiber optic modem. If you buy a new connection, broadband connection, high-speed fiber optic connection, it comes with the modem and also with this thing. Now, this actually is made by a company called, let me just take this right here, and this thing is made by a company called Alphion, and you can see the model number right here. It's AONT UPS. The input is 100 to 240 volts and the output is 12 volt DC at 1.5 amps of current. So this actually is made by a company called Alphion, and if you actually go and search for this particular company, you can see they're actually selling them in their own branding. Like instead of the BSNL branding right here, they are selling it with their Alphion logo right here. So I can imagine that they have an agreement, they have came up with an agreement with BSNL to provide this as an accessory. So the way this thing works is that I have already drawn a couple of bits because it's the second time I'm recording it. The first time the recording was having some issues, so I just disconnected that. So here is the BSNL fiber optic modem, that is FTTH, fiber to home, that's what they call it, fiber to home modem. So the issue is, so far as of now, today, which is I don't know what is today, that is 22nd 22/4/2018. BSNL is only selling a standard Ethernet modem. They are not providing you with a Wi-Fi modem. So if you need to have a Wi-Fi access, you need a separate Wi-Fi router just for that. So the way this thing is supposed to be work is that, let's say you have a power outage in your area and you are in a hurry, you are in a desperate need for accessing internet. So this thing will come to life then. This will save your life then, because in a normal modem, this is the incoming optical fiber cable to your modem, and the modem will usually have an adapter, a 12 volt adapter that connects to 230 volt socket. So in case of a power outage, there is nothing much it can do. But in this case, instead of plugging your modem directly to the 230 volts, you are plugging it to this, instead of directly plugging it to the 230 volts, you are plugging your fiber optic modem to this thing right here. Let's say BSNL UPS, just for the sake of naming it. And then this thing is connected to the 230 volts AC input. So let's say if you have a power outage, this is going to be having a battery inside. I will take apart after explaining how this thing is basically connected. This thing has a battery inside, so if there is no input power, if let's say the power is off for a week or something, then the internal battery will provide the 12 volt that is necessary for your fiber optic modem. That is the actual purpose of this thing right here. But as I mentioned, since BSNL is not providing the Wi-Fi modem, they're only providing you the standard Ethernet modem. If you need Wi-Fi, you are going to take an Ethernet output from your modem and then connect it to a Wi-Fi router like this. That's Wi-Fi. And then this thing is also going to need the 230 volts input. Let's say 230 volts right here. So what happens then? Because this thing, as you can already see, this has only one output that can be plugged into here or here. You cannot power both of them. So the sole purpose of this, whole point of this it cannot be justified in such sort of scenarios, because your fiber optic modem will still have power, but since there is no 230 volts going in, you're out of Wi-Fi. What is the use then? Let's say you have a computer. This is the output 1, let's say output 2, and this goes to your standard, let's draw a computer right here. This could be the CD drive or something. This is the keyboard, blah 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 blah, and this, unfortunately, this connects to the monitor, but anyways, it works. Let's say you have a system like this, and this is now connected to 230 volts. What is the point? because you're still out of 230 volts and you are depending on the UPS of your computer for providing the backup time. And you know, the whole point of this is I cannot justify why BSNL is doing they're actually selling this with their fiber optic things, except for because of the contract they came with the company that makes it, so that they can get a lot of income from selling this thing also, the commission and things like that. And now let's say your home is equipped with a backup UPS. Let's say you have a UPS on your home that can actually provide a 230 volts, even in case of even if there is no 230 volts present at the line. So in such a case, there is no need for this BSNL modem, because when there is no input volt, your UPS is actually providing power to your computer, to your Wi-Fi modem, and you can just straight plug your fiber optic modem directly to 230 volts, because your UPS is going to provide the power for that. You don't need this thing in between then. So I don't actually understand why they are selling it. And someone actually said me there is one more thing, that you can actually use it when there is a lightning strike is occurring, because since this thing is optical fiber, it's not going to carry any electrical signal. Yes, that is true, but let me tell you that even though your fiber optic modem is just connected to the OFC, it still needs power from the UPS, and the UPS is then connected to the 230 volts. So if a lightning strikes, even if there is nothing that can come through the fiber optic cable, the 230 volt line can actually carry the lightning to your home, thereby destroying whatever is connected to that thing. So this thing is not recommended to be connected to AC volts when there is lightning strike is happening. So that cannot also be used to justify the use of this thing. So that's the reason my house has a UPS system equipped all around, so I don't actually need this thing. So this thing actually was sitting in my storeroom for quite a lot of time, and as you can see, this has a lot of screws around. And for saving time, I know this video is getting long, I have already taken a couple of screws out just to save a little bit of time here and there. And I'm not seeing the screw here. Let's open it. And actually, because I was not using this for a lot of time, this thing was actually covered in a termite nest and things like that. You can see, if I bring this thing close, you can see the dust and debris that are still right here. If I can show you this, the camera, even if the camera can focus on that, see all the dust and debris on that thing. See that inside? That is because the whole inside of this thing was covered. See, this thing was completely covered in a termite nest. I cleaned it up thoroughly, and that is one reason I already took the whole thing apart. And let me just plug this in for you, and let me show you what happens. And you can see these two ports are actually used to connect to the battery, and the 12 volt 7H battery, standard battery, will work. But right now I'm not having a battery inside, so this is showing red for battery because there is no battery inside, and the DC output, which is this thing, is now providing the 12 volts. The AC input is fine. That is why these two are green and this one is red. If there is a battery, then this will also be green, showing and I think this will blink to show charging, and will stay on when it is fully charged. So let's just take this thing out, and you can actually wall mount this thing. See these mounting holes? There are 4 mounting holes all over this thing, so you can peacefully mount it on a wall. And let's take apart the main unit, which is right here. This is the heart of operations right here. So I'm moving away, and you can already see how much damage the termite nest has done just to the casing. And I'm moving out the case just for saving space, and I'm bringing down the camera right now. And this is actually the heart of operations. See, this is an SMPS based board, so the whole charging, the battery charging and everything is SMPS controlled. Okay, let's take this single screw out. There is actually 4 screws, and there is one reason I want to show you the inside of this thing also, because if you are thinking that what an insect attack can do to electronics. You just wait and see the underside of this board. This was actually kept in place safely in a box, but the termites, as you all know, will eat up anything that is edible for them. So I literally lost the entire box. This thing is actually fully packed in the original casing of this brand thing, even with all the warranty information and everything. I lost every single one of the paperwork that came with this thing also. And that's the board out right now. I have to be careful because this might have charge still inside. So let's take a look at the board right here. Before that, let me just show the capacitor real quick. It has to be this one. Nope, it's discharged completely. This really is a high quality board right here. See, this is the input section. I had done the finger test. There is no voltage. Here comes the AC input, and this is as you can see right here, it's an NTC element. So this has an input surge protection right here, and this one is a fuse. It's a resettable fuse, and it has a varistor right here that protects the input from our voltage surges and things like that. So, and then after that it goes to this common mode choke, and then it has a proper X2 capacitor across the input. So just look at the input section alone. Just by looking at the input section alone, you can see how great, how beautiful this construction really is. And after that it goes straight to this particular chip right here. Let's see if it has a number, and yes, it's FM300N. That has to be the prop switching IC, because it is right next to the vicinity of this huge transformer right here, switching transformer. And let's see what brand. See, that is the quality that I was talking about. See, it's a proper Rubicon capacitor. It's a proper Rubicon. So this thing is actually a really high quality. They're using very high quality components inside. This one is also this is Nichicon, this capacitor. I don't know whether you can see, that's made by Nichicon. And these these three capacitors at the output section most probably is made by, I cannot see what brand. It's KZE maybe, but yeah, overall that's really good. And that capacitor has to be the power supply for this thing, and it has the interference suppression, proper class Y capacitor across the output and input. Has the opto coupler right here. These two is the output ports, and this has to be the. And if you notice something, you can see the output is actually taken from this 12-volt side itself, that is going to the battery charger pin right here. Am I in focus? Yes, I am. And this is the underside of this board. Let's just bring everything. And this is the reason why I need you to show this board. If I just take this off, you can see it's kind of. Is it hard? Can you actually see that? How bad these components are actually. They are looking like really bad. See the state of all these terminals right here. It's all done by the termite nest. This underneath this board was complete a mess. It's all covered in the wet sand like thing, like the sticky mud kind of thing that termites use to make their nest. And I used isopropyl alcohol to clean the whole board up. I used a toothbrush to just go through every single hole that I could find. Every single component at this point this area was covered in this sticky mud, and I think I used a whole bottle of isopropyl just to get rid of that sticky thing, because it is just so stubborn that it won't just go away with a couple of rubs. It took a whole bottle of that, literally a whole bottle of that, to get this cleaned up. And once when I first opened this and saw the state of the board, I never thought that I could bring this back to life, because I first turned it on using a bulb in series with this thing, because that horrible it was when I first opened it. I never thought that this will come to life, and I expected something to be shorted out, and hence I used a bulb in series for the first time I turned it on. But it came out pretty clean. I don't know how much this thing is going to last because of all this corrosion that's happening inside. And by the way, this switching transistor that they're using, I don't know whether you can see that or no. Let me just read the value for you. It's STP-S10150CFP, whatever that is. And this is a really interesting thing right here. It's a Nuvoton W79E822BDG, which I don't know what that is at the moment, but I'm guessing this has to be a microcontroller, because some of the pins is going straight to these terminals right here, which has UART, which says, see, it has UART mentioned right here, 3.3 volt UART, receive P1 bat miss CPU ground. That suggests that this thing has to be a CPU of some sort. See the bottom side of the board, it has a huge separation between the input side, different sides. See, and look at the separation between this. See all the separation that is going on from all the way from here, from all the way, it comes from here, and this has a massive separation, right? And this board is well packed with components, which I don't even know what are all these things. And that thing right there is a B772. As I mentioned, I will put a data sheet for that right here. And this fuse also, it says 2 amp 250 volts. So it's a self resetting type of fuse, I believe. There is another interesting thing that is that there are actually unpopulated a lot of things, and the names of them are actually really interesting. It says 14 volts and ground, bat means AC fail, bat fail, alarm, return, battery low. It says a lot of things are actually unpopulated, and there is 1 2 3 4 space, 4 more spaces for the connecting these optocouplers right here. I don't know why they are doing that. Maybe they are actually providing the inputs. These must be the inputs, and they need to isolate it from the other side. So maybe these may be they are using optical isolation for that, maybe, which I don't know. And hence that is the reason why they were using this microcontroller right there. So I think they were making multiple versions of these UPS with all these different features, and this has to be maybe the low-end version of that board. Because of all these things, you can expect a higher version with all these things populated, which is much more sophisticated than this one. And man, this thing is really interesting. I'm really liking this. By the way, it's a dual layer board, and there is decent enough separation. Not just decent, it's a huge separation over here on this side also, from the AC side and the DC side. And if you notice, you can see there are 2 opto isolators that they were using to isolate it from both sides. So I don't know why, but overall this thing seems to be really high quality board, really high quality made thing. And of course, if this is using this much kind of attention to detail, then of course there is no need to take apart this transformer, because naturally it will be of high quality, because they are not cutting off any cost, because they are using a proper components, this full AC line filtering going on. They were not even thinking about cutting costs. They are actually putting more things in so that they can make this thing better and better. So yeah, it's a really interesting board right here. I'm not even going to think about reverse engineering this whole thing, because you can expect this thing will take ages to be reverse engineered. but the whole power section will be really easy to reverse engineer. But what's going on with all these microcontrollers and things like that, that's what is confusing me. So yeah, that's basically it. That is what is inside the BSNL broadband uninterruptible power supply, or AONT UPS. So yeah, I hope I have covered everything regarding this thing. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you in another video.